Okay, today let's talk about the Socratic Method, what it is, and how do we use it in business ethics. Okay, so the Socratic Method is something that Socrates used to be able to get down to the bottom of ethical issues or any issues that had very vague um, actions attached to it. Okay, we'll discuss that a little bit more later, but to give you a background, Socrates was told to be the most knowledgeable person at his time, and Oracle told him that Socrates is the wisest person living in their time. Now, Socrates didn't want to acknowledge this because he himself believed that he didn't know anything. Now, in a sort of paradoxical way, knowing to yourself that you know nothing allows you to actually know more than the people who claim to know that they know everything. To break it down, what Socrates meant was that he acknowledged the fact that he was not someone who was not the most knowledgeable in discussions about politics, discussions about virtues, discussions about ethics. And by admitting to himself that he knew nothing, he was able to gain more knowledge because he was open to learning and he was open to other people questioning his methods. At that time, other people, a lot of the teachers or philosophers at that time claimed to know that they knew everything or they knew whatever they had to know about a certain issue or scenario. And this is something that Socrates never did. He always admitted to himself that there is always something more to be learned. So, what Socrates is trying to tell us is when we open ourselves to knowledge, when we admit that we know nothing, we become more knowledgeable. Because when we tell ourselves that we know everything or we know a lot about a certain issue, we're actually closing ourselves off from learning more about that certain issue or learning more about what can be learned about a certain scenario. And that's why the Socratic method is a method of questioning. You use critical thinking, reasoning, and logic to ask question after question to reach about a better understanding of an issue at hand. So this could be issues about courage, virtue, ethics, or even questions about science. By using your critical thinking, reasoning, and logic, you try to arrive at a more acceptable understanding. You try to question every angle of the scenario or the situation. Okay, and Socrates used this method mainly for, at that time, they tackled issues that had no concrete definitions, such as what is considered just or what is considered courageous. This all differed from person to person, and for Socrates, he never claimed that he knew what was just or what courageous meant for a person. And he just opened himself to different forms of conversations, questioning, to be able to reach a better definition than what he previously had. Now, when you talk about ethics, ethics also doesn't have a very concrete definition. If we talk about what is ethical, it's very vague. What you may say is ethical may be different from a different person with a different context. Okay? And this method allows us to go through finer details of issues such as ethics, justice, courage, allows us to re examine any faulty notions that we may have. An example of this is, let's say in the pandemic, is it better that you kill off all of the people who have the virus just to save the greater popularity? For some, that may be an ethical decision, but maybe for you, it may not be the case. And when we try to go through the finer details by questioning, by asking questions, by trying to re examine from a different angle, we're able to maybe find better scenarios, better solutions to the problem at hand. When we question certain ethical scenarios, we are able to better understand the issue at hand and make the most appropriate decision. It's very hard to come up with a decision that's the best solution for everything. Once we say something is the best solution, we're trying to concretize something that can't really be concrete in ethics. For example, a lot of people believed that it was ethical or it was acceptable to sacrifice one person for the good of all. And for some of us, that may not be the case. So we're always trying to ask questions so that we can better understand the issue and make the most appropriate decision given the information and the context that we have. So in business ethics, we try to continue asking questions regarding the situation. For example, was the firing of 300 employees acceptable? Was it the best solution or was it an ethical solution? Could there have been a different angle we could have looked at? Or maybe we're looking at it only from the point of view of the employees, but we also don't consider the consequences it may have to the business. So when we ask questions, when we start to question scenario solutions and issues, we're able to better understand the situation, we're able to grasp it better and find an acceptable solution. So the Socratic method is something we use in business ethics to question scenarios, solutions, and maybe from there we're able to come up with a better solution of our own that we wouldn't have come up with if we didn't ask the right questions.